How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Down to Earth with Kristian Harloff. This is our daily Monday through Friday UAP news channel where we try to figure out what's going in the world of the UAP phenomenon, things that are happening, news that might move the conversation forward, and we talk about it here on the channel. So, if you are brand new to the channel, we just hit 27,000 subscribers. We're trying to hit the 50, but let's get the 30 first. Why? We want people talking about this thing. We want people overall. There are more people taking it seriously. There's questions and potential. There's a potential, as we covered yesterday, that the presidential election could have a question about it. If so, what happens there? Does that get a little bit more mainstream attention? Will they even ask? Will CNN just ignore it completely? We'll find that out soon. There's other things happening in the world of the phenomenon. And one of those things is that Steven Spielberg, as I mentioned before, Steven Spielberg, it was announced a little while ago, and I covered it here, that he's doing a UFO movie. He is doing another UAP film. He did Close Encounters. He did E.T. He did War of the Worlds. So he's returning to this phenomenon. And when you heard him on Stephen Colbert, when he's talking about this is not someone who's just like, oh, I wonder what's happening. It could be great if aliens were running around. And he is very informed on the topic. And when you look at the people, both Hynek and Jacques Vallée were on the crew for Close Encounters. And I feel like he knows more than he leads on to. And he says what he can say. And the big question was, is this movie going to be about disclosure? I mean, the movie's not coming out until 2026. You see some of the things that are coming out now. There are known skeptics that are starting to turn around and say certain things now that, there's a big FOIA report that came out today, and it was like, hey, how about this? And then some of the skeptics are going, wait, this person said this, and this is a high-ranking official. I don't know, maybe there's more to this. That's going to start happening more and more and more. And as we get to 2026, what are my videos going to be like at that point? What are any of the people who are covering it? What's the news coverage going to be on it? What kind of hearings are we going to have by then? So the reason I say all that is, what kind of movie would Steven Spielberg do in 2026? Will it be about disclosure? Will it be about the ideas of the American public, the world public, finding out about this thing? Or is it going to be more fantasy? We touched on it a little bit on the podcast this morning, which aired with myself and Mark Riley. But here is the other thing, the cast, right? And so it is, I guess, in negotiations right now that Emily Blunt is one of the two leads in the film. So this is from Yahoo News, who was covering the story. And Oppenheimer star Emily Blunt has landed her next lead movie role. This actor is set to star in Steven Spielberg's next film for Universal and Amblin, making the first time the pair have worked together on a project. The film has been set for release on May 15th, 2026. That's coming from Deadline. Based on a story by Spielberg, the movie is described as a two-hander with Blunt lined up to play one of the lead characters. Plot details are under wraps. Spielberg's long-running collaborator, David Koepp, will pen the script with Christy Masako Krieger on board to produce. Okay, so Steven Spielberg, Emily Blunt, on this movie together, 2026. I don't think it's a coincidence, though, that Steven Spielberg is doing this again. I just don't. I think that there could be a point where he's like, look, I did these movies. I had fun with them. I did everything that I wanted to do. I told the stories I wanted to tell. I think with everything going on, and he's like I said, when you watch him on Colbert, he knows what's going on. He knows the terms. He knows he's paying attention to the things that have been reported on, the hearings that happen. He's up to date on all of it. I'm hoping that, and you don't want it just to be a documentary. You want it to be an actual movie because it's Spielberg. But take some of that stuff of the, as we talked about it on the show earlier today, about the maybe it's a skeptic or who working in the government who winds up really believing. And then during that time, disclosure not only happens, but presentation to the whole world happens. That's the kind of stuff that I'm looking forward to. That's the kind of stuff that it's like, I want it to like be closer to, closer to history more than anything else too. Is it wishful thinking? I don't know. Maybe. But it's still fun to think of. Will Emily Blunt elevate the project? Of course she will. Of course she will. And then the other side of it is it's a two-hander. Russell Crowe was just out there recently talking about some things. And to see him and Emily Blunt together, maybe like the old grizzled, politician or military guy who knows that these things are real and knows that these things are and are happening, and he's the one, and he almost acts like a mentor. I'm writing this thing myself. Like, Spielberg needs my help. But that's the type of stuff that I'm excited for. And I don't know, it could be nothing of the sort. It could be something completely different. But the idea of disclosure and the idea that Spielberg could be a part of it with this film is not outside the realm of possibility. Because when you think about it, it's like, yeah, he's just going to be a movie guy, relax. And there'll be those comments, and that's fine. And it very well might be true. But there's also something to be said that if, let's say hypothetically, not even hypothetically, well, fine. 2024, August, the next hearing happens. And inside of that hearing, something massive happens that the public can't turn away from, the mass media can't turn away from. And there's attention that is spread to this thing. And then more news starts coming out. If you look at what the Soul Foundation said that they wanted to do, and these other reports of how trickling out information eventually, by the time you get to 2026, if all that stuff indeed does happen, by the time you get to 2026, it's a different world. And what kind of movies are coming out in 2026 with the kind of understanding of what kind of world we're living in? I don't know. Maybe it's the same. And a lot of you, and rightfully so, are going to be sitting there going, there's nothing in me. It's going to be the same. It's going to be the same old thing in 2 years than it is today. But if it isn't, and if more information does come out, and hypothetically, if whoever the president is in 2 years says, I'm going to okay more disclosure here, more of these things, what is it? And more information comes out. If Steven Spielberg does some kind of movie that is just similar to what he used to do, and there's information that came out, it's going to be like, who cares? Focus on that stuff because there's actually things floating around in the sky now. But the idea of Emily Blunt, Steven Spielberg together, and who else knows who's going to be in the cast, I like it. I like what we got. So what about you guys? Do you think this is a good casting decision with Emily Blunt? Do you think they're focused on disclosure? Do you think it's something completely different? What say you? Put your comments in there. I want to hear your thoughts. As always, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Help us get to 30,000 first, with the ultimate goal of 50 and beyond, to get more people talking about this stuff. I appreciate you. We'll be back here tomorrow. And as I said, we don't have a Patreon just yet. We're working on it. But in the meantime, please head on over to our sponsors, and that's how you really help the show and you get yourself something wonderful. Someone asked me today, is there something you guys have? I have high cholesterol, by the way, too. Someone asked me about that. Is there something that's good for that? I said, yeah, HelloFresh. They have really good food. They have really good stuff. I love working with them, and I'll tell you about HelloFresh right now. Here you go. I love HelloFresh. Do me a favor, ditch the meal planning woes and dive into HelloFresh's biggest menu yet. They have over 50 recipes and even more market items to choose from every single week. Discover limited-time seasonal recipes from HelloFresh's Taste of Summer series like Old Bay shrimp and sausage or grilled steak lettuce wraps. They have so much more. I love HelloFresh. I've been using them for a while, and the stuff that they send, it really is just, I like seafood and fish, shrimp. I make fajitas. I do my own thing. You can follow their menus, or their recipes rather, the stuff that they have. You can make your own thing. You do little variations. And it's exactly why I love them. Head on over to HelloFresh.com/DTEapps and you get free appetizers for life. One appetizer item per box while subscription is active. That's great. Free appetizers for life at HelloFresh.com/DTEapps. You'll thank me for it. Super fresh, super tasty, very easy, very convenient. It's HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit, baby.